What about the meeting with Trump? Would you meet with him when he's in Detroit tomorrow?
I see no point in meeting with him because I don't think the man has any bit of care about what our workers stand for, what the working class stands for. He serves a billionaire class, and that's what's wrong with this country.
Today, United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain decided to absolutely destroy Donald Trump on CNN's The Situation Room after Wolf Blitzer asked Fain if he would meet with Donald Trump. Now, Trump is planning on skipping the Republican primary debate, and instead he plans to address workers in Michigan. But Shawn Fain ain't buying it. So let's watch more of Fain essentially shredding Trump on his upcoming speech. Let's take a look.
I find a pathetic irony that the former president is going to hold a rally for union members at a non-union business. And all you have to do is look at his track record. His track record speaks for itself. In 2008, during the Great Recession, he blamed UAW members. He blamed our contracts for everything that was wrong with these companies. That's a complete lie. In 2015, when he was running for president, he talked about doing a rotation, taking all these good paying jobs in the Midwest and moving them somewhere in the South where people will work for less money, and then to make people beg for their jobs back at lower wages. And the ultimate show of how much he cares about our workers was in 2019 when he was the president of the United States. Where was he then? Our workers at GM were on strike for 60 days, for 2 months. They were out there on the picket lines. I didn't see him hold a rally. I didn't see him stand up at the picket line, and I sure as hell didn't hear him comment about it.
So here's the question.
He was missing in action.
He knows his stuff. He brought the receipts. He cited very specific instances in which, while Trump likes to use rhetoric to make it appear as though he cares about workers, in practice, he actually works and had worked against workers. And I love that he provided those examples, because it's one thing to trash Donald Trump in vague terms, but when you provide those specific examples in regard to Trump's bread and butter in campaigning, right? The populist rhetoric, when you disprove all that nonsense, then it at least communicates to people willing to listen what Trump is really about. And I think that's the important thing. Don't allow him to co-opt and exploit populist economic messaging, pro-worker messaging, when in reality and in practice, he has worked against them and will very likely do so again if he gets reelected.
Shawn Fain for president.
Seriously.
I mean, have you ever seen Biden make as cogent an argument against Trump in a minute or less? Never, never. Have you ever seen any Democrat do it? Never. So now let me get back to positives. So thank you, union members, for going back to electing strong union leaders. So it is making all the difference. So look, on the show, a progressive show taking on union leadership is a hell of a thing, okay? And I talked a couple of times about how union members should challenge their own leaders. They're not delivering for you. They're always picking the smallest little fights and leaving the giant corporations alone. So and union members delivered. They said, okay, we got elections. We're gonna represent ourselves and our real interests, and they put in a couple of badasses, some ass kickers, okay? That's what union leaders are supposed to be. And so Shawn Fain is just a work of wonder, man. There you go. Because Anna's so right. If you just say, oh, I don't like Trump, then the Trump crowd turns off their brain, right? But if you give specific examples, then they see, oh wait, is that right? He didn't support me? I'm an auto worker and he didn't support me back in 2019 and 2015 and in 2008. He thought I should beg for my job at lower wages.
Yep.
Well, then you got to go look it up. And they trust Shawn because he's delivering for them. I say Shawn, I don't know the guy from Adam, okay? But he's delivering for them and he's fighting for them, so they trust them. So when he gives receipts and they can go look it up and it's true, it makes a giant difference.
It's much more difficult to accuse someone like Shawn Fain of having TDS or Trump derangement syndrome when he is a warrior for the working class, a warrior for the auto workers. And in the context of this discussion, specifically attacks Trump in regard to how he has harmed workers in America. He has the credibility, the experience, and the receipts to make that argument. And I think that's far more powerful than, typical establishment Democrat that typically gets into these interviews and discussions and engages in like vague attacks against Trump. Look, to me, it's really, really important to hone in on Trump's lies in regard to his populist rhetoric, because that is what gets him elected. And I love what Shawn Fain did there. I hope he does more of it. And doing that on the eve of Trump addressing workers in Michigan is super relevant, super important.
So we're gonna cover the presidential debate. So right after the Republican debate is over, come right here. It's freely available to everyone. YouTube.com/The Young Turks is a good way to find us. But we're also gonna cover Trump's speech that night. So make sure you're checking that out too. But one last thing though. Why can't Democrats do these bare minimum simple things? Why do they never effectively make the case? So I'm now nominating Shawn Fain and Sean O'Brien, who's the head of the Teamsters, as our new Democratic ticket. By the way, but okay, I'm largely kidding. But if I wasn't kidding and they weren't kidding, do you think Shawn Fain and Sean O'Brien would do better than Biden? Only 200 times better than Biden.
I would literally canvass for them, and talking to strangers scares me. So like seriously, I mean, these are people who have the right priorities, which is to look out for ordinary working Americans, period.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below, because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.